Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bucs UK podcast. We're at episode 75, and today we are going to be discussing the Kansas City game that happened last weekend. I'm your host for this one. My name is Alex. I'm joined by David, Adam, and Pete. Hello, guys. Good to see you all.
Hi there.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me for this one. Before we get into the episode, though, I must send our thoughts to everyone in Florida who is dealing with the what has occurred with Hurricane Ian. Of course, it is good to see that Florida is putting itself back together very quickly. So that's great to see, and we hope that anyone who was affected, it is a very quick repair there for you. Our thoughts are with you there. So while, of course, people in Florida are recovering from Hurricane Ian, we are recovering from an ugly loss against the Chiefs. It was a very, very tricky game. We did put ourselves in a hole very early on after that first play, and it did seem that the game never really came back to us. Adam, what was your initial thoughts on that game on Sunday?
Just gutted from the very first, like I said, from the very first kickoff. It started bad, and then it just the game got out of hand, and we just couldn't catch up with them. We couldn't stop Mahomes. He's a good player. I say good player. He's an exceptionally good player. So it's really, really difficult to give them the field position, give them the lead, and then try and catch up. It's a tall ask.
Pete, not great to lose our two opening home games. We're not the way we would have wanted to start at the AJ this season.
No, definitely not. It's the flashback to how things have been over quite a few seasons in the past, but we felt like we'd managed to turn that around and get into a place where we were back in, especially after the Super Bowl, back in a place where home was a victory guaranteed. But it was two tough opponents, and it felt like they schemed us a lot better than we schemed them. It's not an excuse that we had the Hurricane and the move to Miami, but it is going to put a difference in how you prepare slightly with the moving about and being in a different facility. It's not an excuse, but it's going to definitely play a part in maybe the scheming and the way that we prepared for them. But they definitely prepared better for us.
David, we're still 2-2 in the season, so although it was a loss, it's still early days.
Yeah, I mean, the predictions at the start of the season, we were looking at those first four games to be really tough. And, I think we're all hopeful that if we got out of those 2-2, we'd be in a good place. The fact that we won the first two and lost the second two has put a bit of a dampener on it. But potentially, if you look at the big picture, 2-2, moving into what we hope are three pretty winnable games now, it's not all lost yet. It's not the end of the world. We're a quarter way through the season. There's still plenty to play for.
Yeah, the one thing that does worry me about even the two wins is we haven't really looked brilliant with the wins, and now with the losses on top of that, I just sort of sapping the confidence out of me. And you know what I'm like? I'm always Bucks are going to win 100-0, but it's just this. Every easy game just looks a little bit harder now.
I mean, every week there's something different that's going to go wrong, doesn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
We've talked a lot about.
It was quite. Sorry, David. It was quite a game, wasn't it? Though 72 points scored by both teams combined. A 41-31 loss for ourselves there. I'm sorry, David. You were going to come in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked in the past about complementary football and all three phases of the game, and we've just not had that in each of the four games so far. It's always someone different turn up. Really, this game, it was 1 out of 3 phases actually worked for us. Offense overall, played pretty well, but defense and special teams, I think, let us down. And it's been on the flip side of it for the early games, and we just need everything to pull together now.
I mean,
exactly. We can't rely back. So I was going to say we can't fall back on thinking the defense is always going to pick us up. We need to have that. Like you say, that complementary football, having both just pick up their targets and make it happen.
But Adam, I do want to know, Adam, in your opinion, did that first kickoff set the tone for the game for the Bucs?
It seemed that way. It just puts us in a bad position straight away, and you can't afford to give up that type of mistake. The very first play of the game, within 20 seconds, we're down 7 points. So, you're continuously chasing the game. They are receiving the ball at halftime. It just puts you in a hole that's really difficult to climb out of.
But Pete, both you and Adam did say there, suck up, great job, reliable as ever.
Yeah, reliable as ever. You don't like Adam said, you don't even flinch with the kicks now. Even if it feels like it might be long yards, you just think, well, it's all right. He's gonna get. It just seems so. Even if he misses one or two in the season, it doesn't feel like the pivotal moments that they used to be. But yeah, just like you say, dropping fumbling the ball, having it punched out, and that opening drive just took all the wind out. Because I was reading stuff about it, so they're saying the defense, they weren't even prepared to be on the field yet. They thought, we've got a Brady drive yet, so we'll still be warming up and chatting amongst ourselves. And next thing they're all getting on the field. I think that set the tone as well. The defense, I think they always were on the back foot from that moment, from getting on the field early. It was a lot of nervousness from there.
Let's move on to the defense then, because I don't want to talk about special teams too much. It was quite painful on Sunday for all of us watching that. David, they just it's almost a different defense from the first 3 games. It was yeah. Well, any thoughts? What's happened there?
They just didn't get to grips with Chiefs at all. Whether it was the scheming, but from the running game, most of the time they were getting through at least the D line, and it was the linebackers having to come in and clear it up. So they were making 7-8 yards on a lot of their early running. And then, how many times did we actually, when we got into the backfield, get close to Mahomes, but he just span away and really made us look like we couldn't tackle and we were floundering all over the place. And there he is, just pitching a little toss pass into the end zone, which was, we just didn't get him to the dirt. If you get there, you've got to bring him to the ground. And whether they were, perhaps trying to focus too much on getting the ball or making bigger plays, but you've got to do the basics first. You've got to block the run and you've got to get them down to the turf when you get there. So, pretty disappointing. And, well, I mean, Kelsey, how many times? Just so frustrating.
Us, didn't he?
That
Mahomes Kelsey,
that's ridiculous.
And that Mahomes Kelsey partnership, everyone knows about it. Absolutely formidable partnership there. Does it feel like, though, Pete, in your opinion, that we are missing, players such as Sue, for example, and JPP? They were really key players for us last season.
I feel like
feels like we haven't quite replaced them.
Because we've not seen enough of Hicks. Maybe we don't really know whether we're missing him. We need, in a game like, especially against Atlanta coming up, if he could be back for that would be a great place to see whether he's actually going to fill those shoes. Because like we're saying, this was the most that anyone's run on us for ages. So missing Hicks, would that have been a game changer if he'd been in there? Because Vita can only do so much. I think losing Logan and Ryan during the game and Carlton Davis, they were big knocks to the system of what we were playing. You got people coming in. The KSMB got the interception, but when you're practicing week in, week out with certain players in certain places, it's got to be that consistency. And with people like that going down and you've got people filling in, especially against someone like the Chiefs, they were going to tear us apart. And they did.
We got to talk about the third downs as well. Oh, my God.
You took the words out of my mouth, Adam. Please go. You took the words out of my mouth.
Honestly, did I see some of that soft coverage creeping up on third down, giving them 8-10 yards? I just don't understand it. And it's obvious as well, you can see it. They're catching the ball. They got yards to run into. I just don't know. We gotta change it up.
But that's not just a Chiefs game.
We can't expect. No, that's it. We can't expect to win games when we're putting ourselves in bad positions and then we're playing soft coverage as well. It's not a good formula.
That's what I was saying about it. Felt like the defense really nervous. There was times where we would sort of be double covering Kelsey and then leaving a player really open because it felt like we were so nervous that Mahomes was going to scramble, get the ball out, find him. Everyone seemed like they didn't, especially on that that first opening touchdown. He just straight across the middle, and no one even knew what was happening.
It certainly felt to me. I don't know about David. I don't know what you feel about this, but we all know that teams go away and watch tape. They learn from previous games. Kansas would have known what to expect from a Todd Bowles defense, to a degree. To a degree there. They were. It looked like they really had watched the tape and they were ready to face that defense this time, unlike in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and also, this season as well, our defense has slightly changed. It's not been all out blitz constantly. We have dropped back a lot more. And I just think they read us to a T on that game. The little screen passes and then open through the middle, and the mixing up. I mean, that just shows how important it is to have a good run game. To actually keep your options and keep the defense all over the place. So, and that's really where we struggled so far season, is not being able to run the game. Then you're going to the air so much more. The fact that they've got a running game, not just for the running backs, but Mahomes himself actually out there actually able to get yards, it's huge. Yeah, you've almost got too many people to try and cover.
Yeah,
right. It's on a game like that. It's blaringly obvious how much of if you've got a good mobile quarterback who can extend plays and even like create something out of nothing, how hard is that to defend? When a play breaks down and he knows that one or two of his receivers are going to get open and it's going to be Kelsey or whatever, that must give them so much confidence that they know that if the play breaks down, they've got Mahomes and a guy like Kelsey who can just make something up off the spot as if they're playing in a schoolyard.
That's the thing, is that after he scrambles,
that is what Mahomes is.
They seem to know that they run their route, and if they look up and see him scrambling, they then continue to make something happen. And that's something that we never seem to really have, that second option after Brady's got caught up. Now what do? We sort of always tend to be like really stop. Whereas people like Mahomes can just keep it happening.
Yeah, it's not the Brady way, is it? I think me and Pete were talking about this earlier. The Brady, everyone has to do their job 100% correct every play for for it to work for Brady. If one O-lineman misses an assignment, the whole play breaks down. And I think the opposition defense, they've worked this out, that if they can get Brady, he's not extending any plays. So it gives them less things to worry about. They can just dial in on Brady.
Yeah,
they haven't got to worry about him breaking out the pocket and making a 20-yard dash.
Because every time we're back into like the end of the Green Bay game and like the end of the Chiefs game, once we're into that sort of like 2-minute mode, Brady's firing out, not giving them a time to really break his concentration or his way of working in the pocket. We're working down the field. Obviously, we can't play a whole game like that, but it shows that when we're playing in that sort of quick, everyone knows their role, everyone knows what they're doing. You've only got to hold him for me to get the ball out. It all clicks into place. But we can't.
I do want to talk a bit more positively now. I want to mention Mike Evans. I want to talk positive. Pete, he looked like great to see him back on the field. 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans he's just a pro, isn't he? What a player!
He's just a god, isn't he? Really, he's just a god out there. Once it comes to it, if you use a one-on-one, a fade route into a corner, he's guaranteed to get it. He's shown that he's going to be, if not the greatest Buc player in history, he's well on his way to being number 2 or well up there. So yeah,
he's the boss.
He's just unreal. Yeah. Everything he does.
Future Hall of Famer, without a doubt. I've said it for years. Future Hall of Famer, nailed on.
God, yeah.
And Adam, good to see Chris Godwin back on the field.
It is good to see Godwin. I know we had that little mini scare when he got injured for a sec, but again, he's another one that opens a whole load more doors for our offense. Just him being on the pitch and making the defense think about where he is and what's he going to do. It just makes everyone else's job a little bit easier. So, people like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they are key to our success. Obviously.
What about?
It's great to see Brake getting more targets.
Yeah. So, Pete, if I just pause there, you've read my mind about talking about Brake, but I just want to stick with the receivers for a moment because, we brought Julio Jones in, Adam, but he's not. He's barely got any snaps on Sunday.
And I think
Yeah,
he was still injured, wasn't he? I mean, they
He's
put
still
him
a bit of
in
injury
there.
there, we think.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think he's
Yeah.
probably ready to play yet.
Mm.
there's no point rushing a guy like Julio Jones back, especially if Mike Evans and Godwin were fit. So I can totally understand not risking him and putting him out and giving him those, because in that Cowboys game, I think he had like 4 or 5 deep balls, didn't he?
Mm.
So there's no point running his legs off just for the sake of running his legs off. Keep him for when we need it.
Absolutely. And Pete, you were going to speak about Cam Brate there. Good to see his production go up a bit.
Yeah, it was great to see him getting a lot more trust this time round to be that key guy that we've always known he can, he is and he can be. And it was nice to see us involving the tight ends, even with the 2 rookies. They both made some great catch. O'Keefe came up with a great catch. It was great to see them no longer being just extra blockers on the O-line. They were actually being fed out to actually receive the ball, which was good to see. It's good progression. The O-line, the offense in general, it's great to see the progression back to where we were over the last 2 seasons. Scoring that many points. Last couple of 2 seasons, we've been scoring those sorts of points and winning the games. Only because the Chiefs really started off with that early touchdown that we were chasing the game, that it got away from us. But normally that would have been us. It would have been in the bag for us.
Yeah, we needed them.
Yeah.
Everyone got to stand up. We need them.
I mean, that concussion
absolutely.
hit on Brate was worrying, though. I'm surprised they didn't pull him out the game straight away, particularly after what had happened the weekend before. And he's obviously not looking like he'll be there this week.
Well, he started off saying it was his shoulder, didn't he? And then they noticed once he went into procedure, they noticed that he had concussion, but he was just saying it was his shoulder. Which I understand with NFL players, they're going to say anything to stay on the field. But
concussion can take a few moments to actually kick in, can't they? I mean, he obviously shaken up, probably felt right, and then clearly he was groggy again after that, so actually pulled. So that could be a real missing piece next week.
David, one thing we haven't, we've touched it, but the running game. It's let me just give you some numbers here, and then we can really see sort of certainly our issue or the Bucs issue here. Kansas had 189 total rushing yards. The Bucs, 3.
Yeah, it was pretty awful, wasn't it? I mean, we abandoned it pretty early, given the scoreline and the need to catch up, and you often see that with the Bucs. I mean, I think I said in the thread, I had more rushing yards sitting on the sofa than I did Lenny in the first half. He had -3 or something come half time. I mean, we never gave it a chance, did we? But that's the type of football we had to play, being behind all the time and having to catch up.
Yeah, if you go back in history, just the last 4 or 5 years, I think all the games we go behind early and we just completely abandon the run, we always lose those games. Yeah. I think it's indicative of us losing when we just completely give up in the first 5 minutes.
I think what was good to see,
I don't think we haven't won a game where we've run so little.
I think what was good to see this time was that obviously White had the fumble or the punch out in the opening kickoff, but he didn't then get stuck on the bench and told off. He got brought back into the game, and you saw him making a lot of catching yards. We used Lenny and both of them in White to catch the ball a lot more this time, which was another good thing.
If that was Rojo last season, he'd been benched and you wouldn't have seen him again.
Yeah.
In fact, he was benched for this game. He was sitting inactive for the Chiefs this time.
He was, yeah.
I think Rojo's benched himself.
Right. Time to hear the views of some of our members now. So let's dive straight into that. Tom Lawrence says SMB is alive, of course, referring to the wonderful interception there from Sean Murphy-Bunting on Sunday. I had to include a comment from or about Mike Evans, shall I say, and it's our very own Adam, who of course is with us on this episode as well. Adam, you made it twice on this episode. That is a
ruggedly handsome Mike man Evans.
There. Mike Evans is absolutely amazing. Hall of Famer. Alex says, I think it shows that currently we aren't in the conversation for Super Bowls or being an elite level team. We are better than the league average and have had a tough starting schedule, but the execution is poor and the game planning is too. Right, the usual part of the show where I do need to remind you to make sure you go and smash that like button on this episode. If you've got this far, you're clearly enjoying it. So please make sure you go and hit that like button. Subscribe if you're already not. And turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time we upload. Also, we'd like to say a huge thank, as always, to Bucs Report for their support in promoting our podcast. A great platform for many Buccaneer podcasts there. Their link is in the description below. Please go and check those guys out too. David, do you want to come to you now? Because, of course, we've got another Bucs UK meet coming up on Sunday. Please tell us more about it.
Yeah, it's going to be another big event in London this time. Those of you who went to Leeds a few weeks ago know they can get a bit crazy, particularly when the Bucs start getting interceptions. So we're at the Marylebone Sports Bar and Grill, same venue as last time. Plenty of beer on tap. We've got our own dedicated area, plenty of food, and actually just being able to share the games with fellow Bucs members is what it's all about. It gets quite lively as the game goes on, and it's definitely worth it. If you're a member and you're anywhere near London, you need to get yourself down to the event. You can get tickets. They're bookable in advance, and if you go on the forum and follow the link there or through the club emails, that's your way to get tickets in advance. So make sure you come along.
Absolutely, it'd be great to see as many people there. It will be a good night, as watch parties always are. So as David says, if you are a member and you are going to be around London at any around London next Sunday, please get your ticket and come and join us for the Atlanta game in London. It'll be great to see you all there. On the subject of the Atlanta game, gents, let's have a quick look ahead to that game. So let's get straight into it. David, talk us through your thoughts on the Falcons game. What's the keys to the Buccaneers getting the victory on Sunday?
Well, actually, it's a big game now, 2-2 for both teams heading the division. So we've had those 4 opening tough games, and now we've actually got to start getting the wins on. So this is quite a big game to start that momentum building now and get away from the bad runs. So you can't underestimate how important this game is. I think, going into the season, we were thinking the Falcons game was going to be probably one of the easiest on the schedule. It's not looking like that at the minute. So, we've got to turn up and play.
Absolutely. They're doing well so far. I hate to say it, but they've not looked too bad. I think a lot of people thought Marcus Mariota wasn't going to be the answer for them, but he seems to be in a few strings there. Adam, what are your thoughts at the game on Sunday?
Well, going back to the 2020 season, last time we got embarrassed by the Chiefs in regular season, something changed with our defense and everything started to click and we went on a right tear, didn't we? So I'm hoping, after being embarrassed by the Chiefs last week, that we can absolutely tear a new one in the Falcons. That's what I'm hoping anyway. And, they got a couple of injuries themselves, so it's not looking like an easy game. But if there's ever a time when we need to buck our ideas up, this could be the game to try and prove it, silence all the naysayers about maybe the Bucs are slipping, Tom Brady's losing it, or whatever. This could be a really good game to smash the Falcons. Can't stand the Falcons.
What do you think the Bucs need to do to smash the Falcons, as you say, there, Adam?
Score more points.
That's certainly one thing.
No, you've got to establish a run game. I know it's an obvious answer. Establish a run game. Obviously, O-line. We've got to protect Tom Brady. We need to give him the time for the plays to develop. Otherwise, like we were saying earlier, there's no plan B. Tom Brady's not going to rip off a 30-yard run. We need the O-line to give him that time in the pocket so the plays can develop. So the sort of key to the game for me is giving Tom Brady as much time as he needs. Easier said than done.
Absolutely, yeah. And Pete, I'd like to hear what your key to the games is as well.
We need to get our run defense back into action and stop them, because they've shown that they can run the ball a lot, the Falcons. So we need to make sure that we find whatever key player we need to bring in. I mean, McClendon was a good fit last year. I don't see why we couldn't reach out to him. If we can't afford Sue, someone like that must still be out there. You could bring. We don't know how long Hicks is going to be out for. Hopefully, he could be back. But at the minute going game to game and having that sort of gaping hole in the defense, we need somebody to fill that gap. So if we can stop them running, their rookie running back, he's been tearing off some big runs and stuff. So we need to
try and say his name.
Yeah, good luck.
I don't want to. So yeah, if we can get their defense, they should be out for blood. So they should all be really G'd up for this one, and hopefully we can contain Mariota, because even if we, hold off their wide receivers and stuff, he can again create stuff, and we've seen what that was like with Mahomes.
David,
you give a mobile quarterback time.
David, before I ask for score predictions to round this part off, let's just briefly discuss the Atlanta running back situation, because rather, well, I was about to say annoyingly, but that's for my fantasy team side. But I'll move that out of the way. Patterson is on IR, so he of course is a key player for the Falcons there. That's going to make a big difference, I would have thought.
Yeah, that's huge. Be good timing for Buccaneers. For him to be placed on, so he's out at least 4 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, perfect timing for us. I mean, Huntley's been doing quite well from a running back. But yeah, so saying we've got to stop that, because that's the fundamental to their offense. So, but again, it's a bit like we've been speaking all evening. All three phases of Bucs football needs to turn up again. We need to get them all in sync together. It's no good either offense or defense, special teams turning up. They've all got to start turning up now. So you've got to look everywhere across the roster.
I think it's safe to say that our defense will want to make a statement again on Sunday, particularly given how many yards we gave up against the run when we played Kansas. So that's definitely going to be a key matchup there to watch, I think, as well. So let's just round this episode off, gents, with our score predictions, as we always do. David, I'll start with you for this one. How do you see this one going?
33-17 to the Bucs.
Pete?
I'm going shutout. 31-0.
Yes.
Nice.
I love it. Love it. If that happens, that'd be...
I have seen a shutout against the Falcons before.
Going to see another one.
Let's get another one.
Adam, can you top
Alex, you go first, just in case you have any difficulties.
that one?
Have a stroke on it. Oh, he's had one.
I'm going 34-21 to the Bucs.
Oh, no, it's
That's
quite
my
close to mine.
prediction there. Go on, Adam, let's hear it.
34-17.
34-17. Oh, okay. So we got myself, you, Adam, and David all in the same area there. But I think we all agree, Pete, yours is the one that we definitely want to happen there. I'd love to see a shutout. So, gents, thank you ever so much for joining me for this one. It's been a pleasure, and thank you to you guys for tuning in or listening. We are looking forward to hopefully seeing many of our members on Sunday at our watch party, and the rest of you, please do enjoy the game. It's going to be a good one. Until then, take care, and as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.